Okay, so I hope recording is started. So again, good afternoon, everyone. We start with today's session. So yesterday's session, we talked about HTML. So in the HTML, we basically talked about the some basic tags, I would say. See, the thing is, it is important to learn HTML. आप लोगों का HTML पढ़ना जरूरी है क्योंकि अगर आपको CSS अच्छे से नहीं आता, ठीक है, तो भी आप HTML अगर आपको अच्छे से आता है, आप वेबसाइट्स बना सकते हैं। ठीक है, HTML बनाया गया था वेबसाइट्स बनाने के लिए। सो वी क्रिएटेड HTML सो दैट वी कैन शेयर इंफॉर्मेशन via websites or www that we saw in a last training session. That was day 2 and today is day 3. So today we will be basically first going over some of the tags that we covered yesterday so that you guys can recall it, and it will be a good summary for you. Some of you who were not able to study, or I would say if you are not able to like recall what you have learned yesterday, that is completely fine. You may have your college assignments or something, that is okay, but it would be great and I would really appreciate it if you guys can like go to 3.0 W3 schools and practice the exercises that we have given, right? So in the exercises that we have, it will be good way for you to like practice overall, because see, the thing is HTML and CSS are like scripting language. So whatever you are writing in HTML is not actually, I would say, programming. It is just scripting, the way we render the data on a web page, and CSS is like how we actually style it, right? So this kind of things are like you have to remember a lot of things. Okay, and if you try to remember it, you will not get anything. So what you can do is you guys can just go to a W3 school, read what it is, and then just practice it, right? So that when you are actually working on a project, you guys will have a great understanding, as well as you can recall things quickly because you have already practiced it, right? So that will be preferable and that will be great. But before starting today's session, I would like to say that this is the website that we will be creating today, right? So this is a website that have a proper navigation bar. There you have your profile button as well as your logo, and then you have like 3 different sections of your website where you can click on the button and jump to there, as well as you have this image which moves when your user clicks on it. And tomorrow when we will learning the JavaScript, we will make sure that this image moves automatically after a certain amount of time, I would say. Second is we also have a sidebar that we saw yesterday, that there is main content and then there is a side content. So in this content, we would probably have like, let us say, if I click on this add to cart button, then this section will appear here, right? But you will see that in a lot of websites, this section is not present. So what we will do when we will be learning JavaScript, we will make sure that this section will only appear when I click on my cart section. Right, so but that will be possible after we have learned JavaScript. So for today, let's have this section, and we will also practice how to create 2 different sections on our website, how to create this carousel, as well as like how to create this special where we can have various cards, the name of dishes, the prices, as well as like a button where we can like add to cart. The functionality will not be there as we have not learned JavaScript, and this kind of functionality like adding to cart or something like drag and dropping is only possible after we have added like JavaScript, right? So this is going to be a website. We will have like this, as well as this is also I can say that responsive website. You can see that if the screen size changes, now I have it on like top, this main carousel is on the top. Then this is instead of 3 boxes, we are getting only 2 boxes, as well as we are having the cart at the bottom of the screen. Okay, as I said, tomorrow when we will learning it, we will make sure that this is only and only visible when we are clicking on my cart button, right? So for today, this website is created in the Bootstrap, because the thing is, you guys are like new intern. This is a really new technology for you. So learning CSS is like, I would say, quite time consuming thing. Okay, if you go on YouTube and you search for CSS tutorial, HTML tutorial, you will see that all the videos are at least 2 hours for HTML and at least 6 to 7 hours for the CSS, right? So CSS is a technology where you have to spend your time in learning it, right? But we have Bootstrap, which is a CSS framework. So what they have done is, as I said previously, that there are three types to write the CSS. Let me just quickly come to this HTML part. So yesterday we saw that we have HTML. We write doc type to let the JavaScript browser know that our document is of the HTML type. Then we have a HTML, which is a root of all elements. Then we have head as well as body, and then we have the title tag and various other elements that will be visible to users, such as heading one, H1 tag, and the paragraph tag. Right. We saw that rendering is basically loading the content on the client side, and document is like actual web page. We are just referring to it as a document in a notation, I would say. Like in JavaScript, we basically say as a document, right? So we saw what are the tags. There are basically two types of tag. One is closing tag, which where you have to close a tag. Second is basically a tag which doesn't end or it doesn't have a content. It only has some kind of attributes. Right. So there are H1 to H6, S6 type of heading. So I have given you example of 3, but you can have more. There is also paragraph tag, and then I have written like what is attribute. So in this A tag, the href is basically name of attribute, and this link is basically value of attribute. As well as we can have many type of attributes that when we go on this website. Let me go on this. So let us say I have this over on so let's go on CSS, and if I just scroll down. Yeah. So you can see all CSS processing property, right? So this is actually available for wherever it is possible, wherever there are more attributes. You can just go on. If I say use my middle mouse button, then I can open it on the new tab. So I can go here, CSS the property, then you will get much better understanding. Like if position is absolute or position is fixed, then what will happen? If it is left, then what will happen, right? So you can know a lot more about CSS and HTML on this website. So I would say take some time, okay, give some time to HTML and CSS, because they are just time consuming. The nature of HTML CSS is that the more time you give, the better you will become. Like it is not like programming where we can just learn some basic concept and then apply it after some certain practice. CSS and HTML is like if you don't practice it, let us say if you don't practice it for 1 month, you will forget everything. Right. In programming, at least you will remember what is list, what is dictionary, as well as you will know what is a variable. But in HTML, CSS, you will basically forget everything. Right. So practice, I would say, do that we have available question and answer in this website. So try going over there. I will just let you know what are the important things that you need to cover, as well as I will give you some exposure on them so that you guys will remember it, as well as you can whenever you have some work, let us say you want to know when the section is used or when the article is used, you guys will be able to recall it really quickly. Right, so that will be agenda of today, where we will be saying what is CSS, as well as we'll be having some quick look on the HTML part that we were not able to cover yesterday, as well as I would say it was not relevant to cover yesterday. Now we are learning as CSS, it is more relevant to cover it. And then we'll look at what is Bootstrap, as well as we will be going over this website, how this website has been created, how you can modify it, as well as how you can create this website from your own site for the practice purposes, right? So let's start. So we saw what is HTML links yesterday, as well as we saw what is images. Then we saw what is absolute URL as well as relative URL. So basically absolute URL is where you are giving entire URL link. So that link will be fixed. For some reason that link is not accessible, your image will not be shown, and the whatever you have put in the alternate property, that text will be visible. Relative URL is, so let us say in my computer there is C drive, then there is a user Yash, and then there is let us say program file, and let us say there is also document file, and then there are my project file, right? So let us say I copy all the project file and then I paste it on some different computer, then I have to change the URL. So there in that computer the URL will be C drive, then the user of that computer, let us say computer number 2, and then program file, and then the project file, right? So when you use relative URL, you can mark the root directory, right? So whatever directory I'm currently in, so let us say for now I'm currently in the desktop directory, right? And if I just right click on this and let's say click on show property and click on properties, then I can know that the absolute location of this particular file, that is bootstrap.txt, is C drive user yes2 OneDrive and then desktop, right? But there are ways where I can say that this is the root. Sorry, is there anyone who would like to? Sir, can I just mute everyone? I will see the chat and then we continue. Right?
Yeah, sir. You can mute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And ask everyone to name their this profile, because one student is there. He's
with
having face only.
emojis. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what you guys can do is
Otherwise
yeah.
you can remove. Otherwise you can remove and don't give
Okay.
access to them. Okay, because now whenever this share screen access and mute all these things. Okay, they can.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So someone who has an emoji of skull, please rename yourself. I will wait for a couple of minutes. Then I will come back after I have covered the relative and absolute property of URL. Then I will remove you if you have not renamed yourself. Do you got it? And also there are other people also who just have like let us say half of their name. So what you can do is you can write your roll number, right? So you have your roll number in university, you can write that. Okay. So for now we were on the absolute URL. So we have like C drive user yes2 and then OneDrive and desktop. Let us say the desktop file, the desktop is name of my project, right? So if I copy my entire project on the second laptop also, I will have the same name of the folder, right? Desktop, but this link will be changed. What I can say, I can type a dot which will represent root. So the directory before the current directory where we are working, that is desktop, that will be quite ambiguous, where let us say even if the directory change, it doesn't matter how many subdirectories are there, it will take it as like previous directory, right? Then that link will be accessible even if we are on a different device, because it is not actually checking the entire name of the URL. It is just checking if there are like any root files like root folders are there, and even if it is not there, it will consider the current directory as the root directory, right? So and we also do this when we are working in servers. So let us say there is a server with some kind of images, so we basically use the relative links, so that when we are migrating our files from one server to the another server, what will happen is we will know like we don't really have to change the path of URL and it will work anyway. Okay. So I believe this concept was clear, absolute and relative. Then we look at the various formatting elements such as bold text, long tag, high tag, and emphasis, small, delete, as well as subscript, superscript, as well as inserted, and the mark text tag. Then we look at the various quotation, like how to like indent a text, I would say, make a quote out of it. Then how to get this quotation symbol. Right, if you use the Q tag, you will get a quotation symbol, right? Because if you use the double inverted comma, it will actually treat it like as a property, or like name of property. See, we have the double inverted comma in here, where we have written world information. So if you want to get the quotation mark, you can basically use Q tag. There are also other ways to use, get it. We saw that in basically, what was it? Yeah, HTML entities that we can use ampersand and then euro. If I just hover over it, you can see that it is I have a euro in the tooltip. That is just functionality of a software that I'm using, which is called MarkText, where I can create a markdown file, and then if I share this file with you, you will get it as it is, like just how PDF works. If I just share the PDF will look exactly same. It doesn't matter which device is it, right? So this is same as this. I can just share the markdown file and you guys will also see the same thing. So next up, we have various other entities, right? So we can see what these are. Then we looked at a various HTML form. We saw the various type of like input types, as well as we saw what is the block level element and the inline block level element. We saw various type of list, as well as we saw the tables, right? So I have written it like you have to use table to make a table element. Then you have to create the table using tr tag, and then for table header you have to use th, and then for another row you need to again use tr, and then to populate the table you need to use td, that is table data. Okay, so we covered this much yesterday. This is the basic part of HTML that all of you should know, right? So for today, we will go over this. So let us say I have the index.html page. Now, yesterday we saw that we can use style equal to and then whatever property of styling we want and then apply that styling. That was inline CSS, right? And the fact about CSS is that there are three different ways to write CSS. So let me just go over it. So if again, like previously I have said, if I say shift plus exclamation mark, I will get the emit abbreviation. I can just enter it. And then in title, I can say day 3. And then I can say CSS. Advanced CSS and Bootstrap. Right. So this is for the day 3. I have given the title. We'll ignore the fab icon for now, or we can also like we just include a fab icon, like we just copy paste. So yesterday I have told you that how to add a fab icon, right? So you can see that if I just use a link tag and rel, I would say a shortcut icon, and then the like HRFB, that is hyperlink for that. I will give the link. See, I have a like I would say a backslash. So that is basically telling that this is currently root directory. Now, after the root directory, find a file name icon set hyphen burger hyphen 16.png. The type is image slash png. Now we know that fab icon I'm using is of the png type. So this will do. We can also let us say open with live server. Yeah, so you can see we have day 3 on the title, advanced CSS, and if I just keep hovering over it, I will see advanced CSS and Bootstrap, and then I have this burger fab icon, right? Then first way of writing CSS is let us say I write h1 tag, and then I can use the attribute part of my HTML. So I can use style attribute on virtually any kind of let us say element I have in the HTML. So I will say style equal to double inverted comma, and then I will write something like color for red, right? So and VS Code has functionality where if I write a color, I can get this box where it will tell me which color it is, right? So after doing it, we can see that if I just okay, so stop it. Okay, there is not anything. Let me see why. Okay, sorry, I have not actually written anything in this, so I will say that this is heading 1. Okay. If I just refresh it. Okay, now you can see it says this is heading 1, right? So this kind of styling where I have written style and then I have written color. So if I just hover over it in the Visual Studio Code, there is MDN reference, that is Mozilla Firefox Developer Network. So there we can see that contains CSS styling declaration to be applied to the element. Note that this is recommended for styles to be defined in a separate file or files. This attribute and the style element have mainly the purpose of allowing for the quick styling, for example, for testing purposes. Now, there is something that we call best practices. So the best practice to use CSS is to actually create a file. So I can just say style.css, right? So I have created the style.css. Now I can link this file. So let us say I can say sorry, link CSS. now it says rel style link CSS. I have the href. So what I can do is I can say backslash and then I can select the style of CSS, right? I can just say yes. And even if I now remove this, so let us say I am removing this. Now I just have H1, right? So if I go on that, you can see that red color is no longer there. But if I go here, now I can, there are ways I can capture this element, right? So this is element. Now there may be some more element, right? So I can say that there are 4 H1 element. Now, if I write that H1 element, in the H1 element, I want to write something like, give it some, so let's say color red. So, and also this is the basic syntax where we have the name of element and then a opening bracket and a closing bracket, make an enter, and then the name of property, and then let us say name of whatever attribute is there. And then just like how you must have learned C++ or C, there we close like, by using a semicolon. So I will just add a semicolon and just edit it, just save it, that this is the basic syntax of CSS, right? So remember this. So now I have say H1, then color, and then red. Now, if I go here, you can say that all H1 are red color, right? But there are also ways where I can only specifically target one element. What I can do is I can give it a name of class. So let us say class, I will give it name of class 1. And now to get a class, what I have to do is I have to write a dot and then the name of my class, that is 1. So if I just press yes, and okay, so that is not a valid name because we cannot start with 1. Okay, so now I have dot and then 1. You can see that only first heading is red, right? So here I can use classes. Now I want you to think about classes as when you are going to your university, there might be lot of classes, right? Around 50 or 100 classes where let us say there is a different class for your BTech student, there is different class for the MTech student, as well as there is different class for let us say PhD students or MPhil students, right? So all of those students collectively will be known as a class, right? So what I can say is, I can say that this first element as well as this third element, so class 1, these 2 elements belong to same class. So apply the color red to these elements. Okay. But I can also say, let us say you are specifically a single individual, right? So you might have an ID, right? So if I say my ID will have a name Yashwant Upadhyay, and let's say my roll number is 912, right? So that will be my ID. So difference between classes and ID is that there can only be one ID, or sorry, there can be different IDs, like a lot of IDs, n number of IDs, but it is a best practice to only use it once. Or let us say I have particular element, I will give that ID and then don't use it anywhere else, right? Because let us say I have this property, right? CSS. Now, let us say this property may have one more class. So one, I will also give another class, that is true, right? So if I want to know which property I want to apply on an element, I have to look at the CSS specificity, right? So specificity is like the inline styling that we saw, that has the most amount of specificity, right? So if I have inline styling on any of the, let us say element, let us say I have this class 1, right? So if I say style equal to color, and then I will say blue. Now I have class 1. Class 1 has color of red, but I also have a style where it says blue. So see, the class is blue because inline styling is the most powerful, like styling specificity. I can say, let us say, what example I can give you. Just like let us say you have a gold, you have silver, and you have bronze. In any video game you have played, you will see that gold is like most powerful medal. Like if you do if you like, let us say you are playing and you got like 5 or 10 kills, then only you will receive gold, right? So that is the same case here. The inline styling is like gold. It will always apply. It is the most supreme type of styling thing that you can do to any element. Let us say there is an element and you want to make sure that this styling must apply to this element, then you can use inline styling, right? Second way of I would say you can consider it as a bronze, silver medal, which will be in the head tag below, like after the when the head tag is ending, you can say style, add a name, and then you can say color. Let us say green, right? Sorry, I didn't specify that it will be one, add, and then we'll say color, right? So now I have for the class one, I have blue for inline. For this style tag, I have green, and here I have red. If I just remove it, the style color equal to, that is inline styling. If I remove it, you can see it is green color, right? Even though I have written it as red, it will be green. Because if I say specificity, then first will be inline element that has like most power. It will always be applied. Second is under the head tag, you can write a style tag and then specify the styling. That will be second most powerful way of styling. Third is creating a different file and then writing it. But even here we have something called as exclamation important, right? So if I say this and go here, it will be ready, right? So the most powerful is the important tag, right? So any name, like any name of attribute, and then whatever the value it has, and then you can add exclamation important, and it will be always and always applied. It doesn't matter if it is an inline. It doesn't matter if it is like in the style tag, in the head tag, in like under the head tag, or it is in a different document. So remember this, we have way of like specifying which style will be available to proper elements. So and we can also go here. So let us say I am on a web page. I will just right click and say inspect. Then this page will open where you can say we have a dot one and it has color green, but it has been marked as crossed out. That means the browser knew that according to the specificity, I want to apply the green color, but we applied exclamation important and tell it that no, you must apply the red color first, right? That is the power of important, exclamation important, where you can override the choices of browser itself and apply some styling. So it is recommended that you don't use important. If there is any issue with your styling, try to fix it instead of using important. Let us say you have 3 different classes, everyone has like different properties, and you want to get property of number 2, but you are getting property of number 4 due to some specificity issue. What you can do is you can basically add exclamation important, but it is not recommended, right? Because it can override the preference of browser. So be I would say, be cautious when you are using it, and always see what the issue is and then use it. Second thing is what we call, so this was basically it about CSS, HTML, and where we can add the CSS. We learned how to add a CSS file into the HTML. Now coming to the actual CSS. Right. So we talked about the specificity. We also talked about the important, right? So in CSS, we have something called as box model. So if I just remove my camera up here, then you can see in this part. Okay, so now I hope that you guys can see that this is my code that is being rendered in the browser. This is the CSS styling which is applied and which is not applied. And then I have something called as box model here. I hope you can see my mouse and then see that where I'm pointing. So this is the box model. The box model is every element in HTML. Let us say when we are talking about web development, so there is an element. So that element will have its own content, right? There will be a padding. So padding is basically, so if I just where my mouse is, you can see there is a pointer icon, right? So if I just click on it, now I can pick up any element, right? So if I just click on this is heading 1, third heading. So you can see that I will get to know that it says h1.1.2. That means there are two classes applied right now, 1 and 2. Then you can see a yellow mark below and above. This is heading 1. And you can also see a box which is like basically blue color. And then you can also see an outline like dot 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 line, which is showing me the border of current element. So based on this, we can know that, see, if you see the box model, you will basically be able to visualize it. So you can see if I just hover over this part, see, I am hovering my mouse in the box model, but on the right side, everything is being pointed all there also. So let us say if I say 262 multiplied by 30, you can see that the specific section is turned blue. There is some capacity to specify that I am currently on this element, this particular element. So this is basically the content size. So actually, this is heading 1 is taking 262 by 38 pixels. Right. So on a screen, on a computer screen, we have something called as pixels, right? And lot of pixels, when they come together, they make entire image, or let us say anything that is being rendered on your screen, not just page, but anything that is rendered on your laptop screen. They all have pixels. So in web development also we have pixel. Pixel is basically the smallest value, or let us say smallest unit. So let us say there is a pen, right? So this pen might be, let us say 10 centimeter, or let us say only this much part is the 2 centimeter. So below 2 centimeter is 2 millimeter, and there might be 1 meter. So there are different units, right? So in same way, we have units in CSS where I can say that this particular is pixel. So it is taking 262 pixels of width and 38 pixel worth of height. Currently, there are no padding. You can see it says 0. And also the border is not taking anything. Then we have the margin, which is saying 21.44. Now, this value, where did we get 21.44? I didn't specify any kind of margin in my code, right? So as I said, the actual HTML element will have some kind of formatting that it comes with. By default, it will have some formatting. And this is the formatting that I was talking about. So basically, we can override this. So let us say, if I say any element which has 1 as well as 2, which has both of the class, I want their margin to be, let us say, 50 pixel. If I save it and go here, let us say it is another slide. So something wrong. Yeah. So now you can see that currently this text is now taking 162 width in pixel and 76 width in height, right? Because, and my margin is, instead of 21.44, now I have 50 pixel in all the sides, right? So because I am using a property called as margin, this margin will specify margin of all 4 sides. So basically I can change the margin, as well as I can also change the padding and the border. When the overall size of any element that I have with padding, margin, content side, as well as border, how does it get calculated? How does my browser calculate it? I will show you. So let us say currently, if I come here and write a comment, so calculation of element size, right? And if I just zoom in, then I hope now you can see that I am writing calculation of element size. So there will be first, if I have to calculate the width of an element, so it will be margin left plus border left plus actual content plus sorry, there will be padding left side plus content, and then same will be there. So let us say padding right plus border right plus it will be margin right, and same will be for height. So I will say this as width of element. Right. Same can be done for the height. There will be margin top, border top, heading top, content, padding bottom, border bottom, and then margin bottom. Right. So I hope now you know what is box model, how the content is calculated, and there are also some functionality of HTML. So let us say when there is no space, it changes its overall size. So let us say if I change it, you can say now it says heading 1 on the same line, and you can say this is 277. I didn't have to change anything. I just changed the size of my display, right? So the HTML itself is quite, I would say, uh, intelligent. It can do things like this really easily. But you will see that this heading 1 and this is on slightly indented. Right now you can see that there is no right and left padding for the heading number 2 and also heading number 4, but we have specified the margin. The yellow part is margin. That is why it is slightly indented to the like right side, right? So you can use these things to change the positioning, as well as you can change how it appears on the screen. So now I hope you are clear with the concept of ID class, as well as you are clear with the concept of specificity, as well as you are clear with the concept of important and then inline and the style tag, as well as the adding overall page of CSS. Also, you understood about height and width, as well as the box model. So these are the basics of CSS that you should know how CSS works actually, what is the working of CSS. And again, I forgot to say, so let us say now I have this page, right? So style.css. In the style.css, there are different ways where we can specify a particular element, right? So currently I have dot one, that is class number 1, where I can say that, okay, this is the class, this property will be applied to 1, okay, to class number 1. If I say class number 1, comma, class number 2, then this property will be applied to both of the class. Similarly, we have other ways that we will see in coming up, but as I said, ID should be only one, because if I have any kind of ID, let us say I have, again, CSS also reads the document from the top to bottom. Okay. So if I say ID 1, now to get any kind of ID, if I want to change attribute of ID, I have to say hashtag 1. In the class, I have to say dot 1, but in ID, I have hashtag 1. So open the bracket and then I will say margin, let us say 10 pixel. Right, and then I will give ID to this. We have class, right? So I will also give it ID 1. So now I will go here. You will see that this is still 50 margin, but here the margin has changed. Yeah, yeah. So you see, margin is now 10, right? Why happened? Why this happened? If I just click on this element, then you can see that it is taking the margin as 10 pixel, but it also considered using margin as 50 pixel, because the class is applying 50 pixel, but ID is stronger than class, right? So that is why, let us say if there are more lot of people in the class, there might be a lot of people, right? But everyone has a different ID. Your personality might be different than others, right? So that is what we are doing. What we are doing is we are specifying an ID and saying that this particular element is behaving like this. So every time styles.css page is there and it is reading something, it will make sure that ID is being applied first. But again, important can override the even ID, right? So that is why I have said don't use important when it is not necessary. Okay, so I hope now you are clear about what is CSS, what is classes, IDs, and everything. So now quickly give me your please raise your hand if you have any difficulties. Else we can move on with the overall CSS. We can start learning the CSS basics. So please raise your hand if you have not understood it. And if you have understood it, you can just give a thumbs up or you can say yes in a chat. I will wait for 5 seconds. And then if no one has any question or no one has any doubt, I will move on. Okay. So please raise your hand if you have any doubt. Okay, so I don't think anyone has any kind of doubt. So good. So now we'll move on to the basic CSS things. Now we saw that basically CSS plays around with margin, padding, border, but there are also other elements, right? So sometimes what you want is I have this border, right? But let us say I want to mark an element, but I don't want to give it some space. So because it will take some space in pixel, I don't want to give any space, but I want to make sure that it appears on the screen. Then we can use something called as outline. It will draw an outline on top of element, but it will not be in it will not take any space. We will see that. Okay, I'm not sure if that is the working of outline, but we'll see what it is, and we'll also see other important thing like how to position an element, as well as we will look at the basic layouts of any web page. So first, we can see in HTML5, we have something called as semantic tags. So in the semantic tag, what it is saying is, let us say you have a header. So this is the header, right? So the school tutorial exercises, get certified, services, boot camp, and then other things. So this is, let us say, header of a web page, right? Then we have something called as navigation bar. So this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, I can move to any topic if I go through this. That will be my navigation bar. There is also a aside section. So aside section is basically anything that is aside from the main content, right? So let us say I have some content on in sometimes you go on news, you will see that there is a main news, but on the sidebar you will see that they will say you may also read this kind of news, right? That is a recommended news. So that is different from your main content, right? So that will be part of aside. Similarly, we do have like a navigation type of thing, but it may not be relevant to the current document. So what they have done, they have created an aside tag where I can just move over any kind of topic within the CSS, right? And then there is main section and there is main article. So main section, I can say like what is semantic, and then there is article of semantic element in HTML. Then there is article of HTML article element, right? So, and then there is a footer. Yeah, so this part is basically footer. I have like references and other important link that I might like to visit. Right, so this is basically like how modern websites function. A lot of them you will see that are following the same kind of thing, although their design may be different, their overall functionality may be different, but they are basically following the same concept under the hood. That is, we will have a header, navigation bar, main section, main article, a side tag, and then footer tag. But as I said, article tag and then other tag that are, some of them are block level element and some of them are inline element. That means if you just write the section tag, it will not work like it is only taking this part of the screen, or it is only taking the article part, article is only taking this part of screen. It will actually take entire screen, that the entire row or entire width. We have to make it look like this using CSS, where we can define the position of an element using various attributes, right? So now we'll look at the basic CSS, and then we'll see how to make it responsive, and then we'll look at the Bootstrap and how to use Bootstrap to create this website that we have. Okay, so first thing that I wanted to cover was fonts. Yeah, so you can see currently my font is this today's special looks like this, right? But I can specify which font I want to use. You can see that font style of sans serif is different from the font serif. As well as serif with it has different corners in the font, as well as various different fonts are also available. You can use Google Fonts. If I just say Google Fonts, so just click on it. I would recommend you to bookmark this website, because this is going to be really useful when you are actually working on some kind of websites. Google Fonts are basically supported by any kind of website that is based on top of Chromium, right? So Chromium is a browser, and then on top of Chromium we have Google Chrome. And then basically Firefox is also there. We have the engine of Gecko, and in Chrome we have engine of V8. They are the engine that are helping the browser run, but there are different types. So let us say this is like Chrome, this is Firefox, and Google Chrome will be basically the Chromium based browser. So Google is supported, Google fonts are basically supported in virtually any kind of browser that you have. So this is also recommended. You can see that this is a Roboto and this is how it looks like. The pop-ins look like this, and then open SARS. You can like basically see open sans and pop-ins are really different looking, right? The Octave and the NATO Sarif Makassar, they are like different styles of them. So you can bookmark it. It will be really helpful. You can just get a font and then apply it on your web page. Actually, the font is. Let it load. Yeah, see this font that is Roboto is actually really popular. A lot of websites will use it. If you like, go on a lot of websites, let us say any website that is Google based, you will see that Roboto font is being applied. Right. So this is also recommended. I personally use a Roboto font. You can also use any else you want. There are also other fonts that we will see. So let us say there is also generic font name, and it is like giving also examples. So font family of serif has a Times New Roman font family as well as Giorgio as well as Garamond. Let us say I have a family, but there might be like other families that are related to it. So basically there is a generic font family of serif, but there are also subcategory of this serif. So let us say there is Times New Roman or let us say Giorgio. Sorry, it is not that, but let us say serif, and there is also sans serif that is related to it, but it looks different. Right. There is also example of font name that you can see. So Times New Roman, Giorgio, Arial. You must have seen the Arial on Microsoft Word. You must have seen Verdana on Microsoft Word, as well as you can see the Papyrus as well as Copperplate. These are like really, I would say, Helvetica is there. It is also like I think default font of Mac OS. So you can see this. Then if I want to change the font family, I basically have to use font family attribute. So if I say try yourself, then I can see that this font looks different than the other, and the third font looks different than the second and first one. Because I'm using the font family, the class I'm using is P3 that is applied to the third paragraph. Okay. So this is basically looking like, so you can see that there are actually three fonts, right, being applied. So that is Lucida Console, then Courier New, and then Monospace. So the first family will be applied, but let us say your browser doesn't support the first family, then the second family will be applied. If your browser doesn't support first and second, it will apply the monospace. And if none of them are being supported, you might see a question mark, or you might browser might just apply its own like default if there is any default font that it has. So basically in Microsoft Windows, I believe there is a different default font. So if I go here, then you can see that this is the default font. I'm not applying any kind of font. Then this is the default font for the Microsoft Windows. And if we go on Linux, you will see that this font looks quite different because there is a default font for the Linux also. Okay, so now I believe the font family attribute is there. You guys can note it down that font family is used to change the family of font for your entire website. I will say if you are using, let us say, instead of this, I would like to just apply it. So if I say star, that is shift plus 8, and then apply it, you can see that now all of them look same, right? Times New Roman has been applied to all of them because star is basically the root element. It is saying that the root of everything should be so that everything will be applied this like font by default. But I can say that for P2 we had, yeah, so let us say I'm saying by default I want to apply Times New Roman, but if I say this, you can see that this is changed, right? And if I don't apply any font family for the third one, you can see that now this is also Times New Roman, but second is changed because I remember I said that CSS and HTML start reading from top to bottom. So first it read that the root is Times New Roman, but the second property, the most latest font family that is being applied to the P2 class is Arial. That is why it is using font Arial. So remember this also. So next is we have something called as font web safe font. So that is if you use this font Arial, Vardhana, Tohama, and then Times New Roman, and there are also other. They will be like supported on each and every website that each and every web browser that is present. Everyone will have this website, and by default, let us say if your font family is not supported, it will be fall back to the default fonts. Okay, you can see how it looks like, how Vardhana looks like, and how you looks like. When we have CSS icons, we can use font awesome to get an icon. As I said, there is a CDN, right? So whenever you have a CDN, your web browser will download that content, keep it somewhere in the cache of your browser, and then show it to you. This entire images that I have, all of these are taken from the CDN, from a link. I have used Unsplash. So if I click on this and then just move on. Yeah, so you can see that if I hover over it, you can see the image, right? But if I click on it, let us say, I just want to copy it, but I don't, yeah, I cannot edit it because it is rendered by browser. So I just have to go here and then you can see that, yeah, see https image.unsplash, and then there is a actual image link. So what it is doing is it is rendering the image, it is downloading it, and then it is saving it somewhere. You can actually see it. So in the developer tool, this like black screen that you are seeing at the right hand side is actually called the developer tools, right? Firefox has its dev tool, Chrome has its own dev tools. So I think if I go to storage, then we can see there is local storage as well as IndexedDB. Then we have the session storage. You can see there are different type of storage. So if I say cache storage, because you can see that different things are being saved, right? So that is also the serial image that we are seeing, that is also downloaded from somewhere and it is being saved somewhere in the cache and then it is being rendered, right? So next up what we have is CSS icon. As I said, for icon, like I have this day 3 and then I have this burger, right? So that is basically icon. So icons are basically, their size is small. It is like 16 by 16 bits, 16 by 16 bytes, or let us say 42 by 42 pixel, 48 by 48 pixel, instead of having 400 by 400 pixels. That is certainly most of the images are like that. So you can use icons. You can just go on fontawesome.com, and then if you go here, you will find there are a lot of icons. Let me just load it. You can see there is something called a start free. You can use the free icon also. You just have to give your email and then you will get a kit. But there are also other free alternative also. It is up to you what you want to use. Also, you can just download and then you can use the reference tag that we have. Like you can see that we have SRC tag, right? So you can just give the link of downloaded fonts also. That will be also do. But for link, HTML has I tag. So whenever you use I tag, now this also works only if you have font awesome CDN. So you can see that script kit.fontawesome, right? So whenever you have font awesome, you can use I tag and class to let the browser know that you want to insert this particular font in this place. So if I say try yourself, right? So this is cloud. So if I let us say in font awesome, I will say Facebook. Okay, my I think internet is quite slow, and that is why it is taking some time to load. But okay, so as I said, you don't really have to wait for, let us say I have this cloud, right? So I can just copy it, and then instead of cloud, I can say like instead of like let us say copy heart, and then let us say cloud heart instead of cloud, then it will become heart, right? So it has become heart. Change it. So basically, in the font awesome, there are a lot of fonts. You can just name a font and then pick it. And then basically you can use it in your browser. It will be visible like this. So basically you can also change the styling. You can see we are using style, that is inline editor, right? And then you can say font size, and then 24 pixel for this one, 36 for this one, 48 for this one, and 60 for this particular one. Basically, we can also change the link. You can see if I use a link. So let us say a, and you can say google.com, and then go to Google, go here, and then you can see that it is like blue color, and then there is also an underline on any kind of let us say link I have, right? So that is a default behavior of a link. But what I can do is I can go to this a tag, and then I can say color, and then I can define the color of a tag particularly. Then it will change. I go here and say just paste the a tag. Look here. You can say that now it is, instead of blue, it is hot pink, right? So that is how basically you can change the styling of your element using CSS. We also have way to change, like if the link is being clicked, let us say if I click on this link, then go back, now the link color is being changed, right? But I can use a visited and then use color green to change that color. Basically for the active link, where if I'm hovering over it, the change that you can't see it, but it is slightly changing the opacity so that it is like, you know, fading away slightly, because it is really small. What you guys can do is you can go to your own IDE and then just click, make a tag and then see how the things are changing. That will be much more better for you to learn CSS, right? So you can also choose the active tag, hover tag, as well as click tag. So when you hover over it, this hover hover is something called as like pseudo selector, right? Name of element, name of class, name of ID, hover or anything will be like pseudo selector. After anything you return is pseudo selector. There are basically a lot of pseudo selector like link, visited, hover, active. There is also a child selector, like nth child selector, where I can say like n number of child for the current parent, right? As I said previously that I have this HTML tag, then there is head tag, then there is body tag. So for my H1 tag, the body tag is the parent tag, right? This is the parent of the tag. Sometimes what happens is some CSS properties only and only work on the child tag. They do not work on the parent tag. And sometimes what happens is when you have a like specific styling on a parent tag, it will not be applied to the child tag. That is, it will not be inherited by the child tag. But there are also some styles that will be inherited by the child when it is applied to the parent, right? So you have to also see what those are. You look at it, and also if you just read all of these things, you will realize that there are a lot of tags and which tag they are. But basically, for now that we have a selector, and then I can add column, and then I can make a pseudo selector where I can change property of a particular element. Let us say a particular attribute of a particular element can be changed using pseudo selector. So basically for list, what I have is, you can see that let us say list style type. All right. So if I just click on it, you can see I have unordered list with class A, and then I have coffee, tea, and cocoa. But you can see I have like I can say hollow circle where circle is not filled, whereas there I am using squares that is filled, and here I'm using Roman numbers, and here I'm using ABC. Right. So what this can be done by adding a property called as list style type, where I can say lower alpha for like ABC, and I can say upper Roman for to get like capital 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Roman, and then I can use square, I can use circle, I can also use something called a disk. Now it is circle with filled, like it is filled circle, so it is black color circle. This can be used, and also we can use something like So basically it is same, it is just changing the color. We have seen that we can use color to change the text color and use background to change the background color. So remember, when you want to change the color of background, you have to use background function or background color. When you want to change the color of text, you have to use color attribute. We don't have something called as text color. We only have color. So remember this thing and don't get confused with it. Next, we also have tables, like how to change the functionality of table. You can see that this is green color, this is a gray color, and this is white color. So if I just click on triangle yourself, you can see that hashtag customer. So where is, so table is given ID of customer. So on the customer, you can say the font family is Arial, and second preferred is Helvetica, then third is sans serif. Then border collapse is basically collapse. So basically they are applying it on the border. We see about border. Then they are saying that take 100% width of a screen. So if I change it, you can see that like the table is moving with the screen, right? Because it is taking 100% width of a current row where it is. And it is also like we also have like customer, and then inside customer table data, and the table header, I'm saying that make the border 1 pixel solid and change the color, as well as add the padding of 8 pixel, as well as I said, nth child even. That means let us say I have this table row, right? So each table will have a child, that is TD, table data, right? So each, what it is saying is nth child of each table row. So this is table row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So one first row, remember first row contains the heading, but it is still row. Second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row, sixth row, 7, 8, so on. So second row has the color of this F2, F2. If I just use this tool, you can say that it is saying light gray, right? And then basically this should be green. Yeah, so it is dark green. Okay. You can say that when I'm hovering over any thing, the color should change to DDD. So basically, if I'm hovering, like this is currently hover, and then I'm hovering over the second tab, then I'm hovering. So it is color is changing to DDD. But I can also write it as DDD only 3 times. What it will do is it will like, I will say repeat it again. So D will become DD, and then second D will also become DD, third D will also become DD. So if you're like, let us say I have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, then I can write 1, 2, 3, right? Basically like this. And then there is also customer, and then the TH, that is a table heading of the customer table. I want to apply the color, that is 04AA6D. But again, if I hover, the color will change this, right? Again, so there is no classes. What they have done is, so they have taken the name of ID, and then they are saying that in this particular ID, I want to target all the TD elements, right? And also there is comma. So for the customer table, again, target the TH, right? So they are basically saying that so that they can apply padding and border to the entire table, basically like this. So you have to see how you can, like, this is called chaining selectors. We have a selector and we are chaining it. So basically we have also have something, yeah, so let's come to the colors. So we have colors, right? So there are a lot of colors, and you can see that CSS HTML support 140 standard colors, right? You can see it, the list just goes on. What I can say, I would recommend is search for W3 schools color groups. No, it is taking some time. Let me see if it is problem of Firefox. Yeah, so actually my Firefox has some issue. So if I say HTML color group, if I click on it, then you can see now they are being sorted. Like the see here you have all the color like tomato, and then this color. There are also a lot of colors like where was it's 140. Yeah. See, this is slightly pink. This is also slightly pink. This is also slightly pink, right? So what we can do is We can search color and then color group. Then we will have shades of pink, as so that you can use any shade of pink if you want. You can directly copy it from here, right? So this is much better to look at. And but they have like given link for 140 standard color so that everyone know which color is that. And I think it is sorted out alphabetically. But what we can do is we can also use this link, that is colors color group, to look at it like in a sorted format where it is sorted by color. So this is pink color, purple color, and all the shades of purple that are available. So lavender, plum, and then orchid, violet, anything, right? So you can look at it if you want. You can use shades from here and make your websites more interactive. Okay, so now we have color added color. So now let's look at the CSS background. And as I said, you can use background color to change the color. So if I just click on try it yourself, you can see the background color is light blue because the background color attribute is used to change the color. The second of all, you can also see that we can use opacity. So basically there are two examples for this. One is this. Yeah. So when you use opacity, it will work on all the element as well as the child element that is there. So let us say there is div and then there is h1, right? It says opacity 0.1. Now h1 is child element of div with class first, right? So if you use opacity 0.1, now this opacity is being applied on the child itself. Even if it is not applying, it is visible that child is also fading away with the this. But what you can do is you can use RGB or RGBA. RGB is basically red, green, blue. You can see that the red, green, blue are basically the three primary color, and you can mix and match them using like various. Let us say I'm only using 10% red, I'm using 90% green, and I'm not using blue. Then I will get a different color. Like so, I can create a lot of colors using RGB formula, but I also have like if I say RGB, so if I say 0, 128, 0, that will be like green color. But if I say 0, 20, but 0.1, that is alpha value. Alpha value is basically again fade value for the color. So you can see this will be applied. So but 60% opacity will not be applied. Like the color will not be there. Okay, so you can see this kind of thing, like how they work. Again, you have to practice it. You have to play around with this thing. CSS is basically like whatever you are applying, you have to tweak it. Like basically the more you spend time with CSS, the better you will become, because you will not even remember the name of color. So we know that there is a color named lavender, right? But you may not be knowing this. But as you move on, as you use more color, you will basically familiarize yourself. And if you want to become a front-end developer, you must learn the CSS really well, because if you know the CSS, you will be able to know how the design of your front-end is working. If there is any issue, how you can solve it. We also have background image. This is also really important topic for the CSS. So we have background image where what I can say is, so if I just go here, so which is much better. Let me see. So yeah, sorry. There is a background image. Yeah. You can see to apply a background image, you cannot just name it like hashtag and then color of name of color you want to apply. You have to say URL, and then you have to add a braces, and then you have to give a URL of a link, like whatever the image is, you have to provide the URL. So let us say if I want, then what I can do is just copy it and try pasting it here. Let's see if it will allow or not, because this is a different, it is running in a browser, right? So you can see the image has also changed, right? I can do these things, and I can also use like different property. If I just go on background repeat, you can see that I have this. Yeah, so you can see there is some gradient. You can see this is slightly darker. If I just use my color picker, you can see that this is lavender, and as I move on, it is changing into white, right? So they are applying image that has gradient effect. I can say repeat X instead of I can say repeat Y. Then it will only be applied to here, right? But you can see that an image may have a width and a height. If it is not able to cover the entire screen, what it will do is it will repeat itself, right? So what I can do is, uh, if I say repeat, because yeah, you can see now there like this image is being repeated. I can also say no repeat. So now image will not repeat, it will only stay in there. Right. These are also other properties. So no repeat is there. And then you can also set the background position of right or left on the top hand right section. Then you can just go on here, background position. And then look at all the properties. So values are left top, left center, left bottom, right top, and then right center, and so on. You can check it. There is also demo option. You can just go here and you can check the demo. Right. So if I let us say left center is there, so what I can do is I can click on left top. I can say center left. Right. So they have given you a lot of demo. You can play around with it and check it out. Because we have like a limited time, we are not able to look at all the properties that we have, right? So that is why I have found told you to use W3 School. And also like currently they don't have exercise for this particular chapter, but they have different exercises. You can try that and improve your overall knowledge of it. So let's look at the border. That is also important. So you can see there can be a border, right? And then there can be also a single border. So sometimes what happens when you go on a website and you start typing, you will realize that only the bottommost part of an element is visible. Like, you know, the color will be there. And when you are typing, what happens is your size may also change. We can do that by using JavaScript, where we can change the size of pixel, like 1 pixel to 2 pixel, the size of border. But we can also set like border bottom, and then the style, like you say border bottom left style, border top style, border left style, and the border right style, and then set the color, the size of the border, as well as the what kind of style we want. Right. So let me see. Yeah. So there is dotted style, dash, and then solid as well as double. So see, this is the dotted border. If you apply the dotted style, then it will look like this. And basically, you can look what kind of how different kind of styles look on the border. You can see that. We also have the border width, where we can say that border width will be 5 pixels, right? So this is border style and the border width, but you can also use border, just border, and say 5 pixels solid, and then color. It will apply 5 pixels solid border and color to that particular border also. If you just use the border, but you can also change it. You can use border style to specifically say that this is the style, and you can also use border width to specifically specify that this is the width of border. As you can see, you can also change the color of border. You can use the name such as red, or you can also use the hexadecimal, RGB, or HSM. This is like basically I can say hue, saturation, something like that. And there is also RGBA, so red, green, blue, and alpha value. You see the border color is changing if you are saying that for on the P element where the three classes applied, I want to say a border style dotted and the border color as blue, right? So it is applying that. So next is margin. We have looked at the border, but we can also wait. So there is border, right? So what I can do is, let me take an example. If I just create a p tag, and then I can say that say this period dotted and as well as this, right? So this should give me, yeah. So I have the dotted border, right? What I can do is I can say outline, and then I can say 5 pixel solid red, right? So now I have an outline. I just check it out. then you can see there is no border, right? The border is 0, but I have the outline, right? So what it does is sometimes what, like, when you want to check what if there is some element that is overlapping another element, you can use outline to check what is the outline of a current element. I would not recommend using outline. Use it only when you have, like, when you want to, when you have a specific use case. Other than that, you can use outline to check your elements when you are testing the front end of your website and you want to see what is the current outline of the element. If it is being overlapped by anything, you can use outline to check like what element is overlapping what element, right? So that will be possible using outline. So second is margin. As I said, we have already seen an example of margin. I can say margin top, right, bottom, left, or I can also say margin and then give 4 values. What it will do is it will start from right, bottom, left, and then go to top. So it will go in like clockwise direction, right? Again, you can specify if you want margin top to be 5 pixel, margin right to be 10 pixels, margin bottom to be, let us say, 50 pixel. Let us say you have an element at the front, but what you want is you want the left side margin to be only 5 pixel, so that it is not like, really close to the screen. So I have seen this at the sidebar where I am scrolling right now using my mouse. You can see that there is some space, right? It may be like around 8 pixel, right? And you can see that there is some space, maybe it is around 24 pixel. Okay, but you can see that space between this thing and the HR tag that we have, that might be different, right? So you can give different values to margin and specify where your content will be visible. But what it does is when you are giving more margin, it also affects the other element also, right? So if I just go here and say, you can see that margin is being applied on the outer region of the content, right? So if I say CSS padding, then the border will be there, but any changes are there, they will be only applied on the content itself. So let us say we have padding. So the all the padding that is still 70 pixel is being applied to the actual content itself. Now the element is here because the right padding is also 70, upper and bottom is also 70. On the right side is also like 70, right? But because the P tag is block level element, it is taking entire width that it can. That is why you have a lot of empty spaces here, right? But if you specify like, if it is like, let us say span. Right. Okay, so now it is not there because it is specified on span. Yeah, so now you can see that it is only taking this much space what it needs, but it is also like, having 70 from left, right, top and bottom. Okay. So that was like padding. You can also specify padding top, right, bottom, and also left. As well as you can specify the height and width. We also looked at links. We also looked at table, list. So these are basically like the basics of, I would say, CSS. But the most important part of CSS that if you learned it, you can also like, use different type of, I can say, framework. So if you see that I have this CSS file, right? So if I say 1, but if I remove it, right? So if I say, so there is like currently, like no ID and nothing. So what I can say is, so nothing is being applied right now, except like this part where we have specified the A tag to be like, pink color, as well as we have specified the dot. So what I can do is to apply a class, I just need to write 1, right? So 1, save it. Now this is again red. So basically in Bootstrap, what we have is Bootstrap team has already written a CSS file. And what they have done is they have like, if I go to get Bootstrap, right, so we go to get Bootstrap and then go to docs. So you can see that if I just click on anywhere, so let us say form control, so you can see they have created a form which is pre-defined form. So this is how it will look like if you just copy it and then paste it in your editor, right? So they have already written these classes, MB3, and then like, different classes like form label, right? So after we have imported the Bootstrap in our project, what we can do is we can use the classes that they have written and apply it on our element. So instead of writing classes ourselves, we can borrow the classes that Bootstrap team has written by downloading it and linking it using the CSS. That's just how we have written the CSS. Or what we can do is we can basically get a CDN, right? So just like how I previously showed you, like yesterday, we can get a CDN. Let us say if I go here from page. So there is this CDN, right? CDN just .jsdeliver.net / npm and then bootstrap.min.css. See, this is a CSS file, like .css file, right? Min is basically the minified version. So instead of like getting the entire CSS file, they are only giving you the important part so that it is not taking a lot of spaces, as well as instead of like, this formatted CSS, even if my CSS is like this, it will still work, right? Even if there is no spaces, because that is how just how like CSS is working. So the minified version is like really low on space. So they can also use that. That is what we are using. So you can import it, and when the browser is loading, they will first download the CDN of Bootstrap, and then they will apply all the classes that they got from the CSS file that they got from the Bootstrap team, right? So we can use that. And then I have already applied a couple of classes to create this website. So let's first look at it, how this is working, as well as before that, let me see what is more important with respect to CSS that I can cover. So we have covered like padding, margin, border, outline. We have covered the content size. We have covered. We have also like covered what is the dev tools. We have also covered how to check the dev tools. We also like covered what is comment, as well as we also covered the color as well as the backgrounds, and we also saw link and also list and the tables. So now let's look at the display. So basically, what we have is, let us say, going to the CSS Flexbox option. So here you can see I have CSS Flexbox. You can see try yourself. So now if I change this, right? See, the 1, 2, 3, 4 is also changing using the based on the size of screen. So what I'm basically using is I'm using something called as CSS Flexbox. Okay, so what it can do is you can use block, inline, table, and also position to let us say if I have a flex container, first I have to add it in a container. Like, so that container will basically work as a work for the Flexbox, and all the Flexbox, any properties there will only work in the flex container or the child element of that container, right? Let's look at the flex container. So basically what we have is like display flex, to direction of the flex. If you want it from the left side or right side, you can also reverse the direction. You can say the flow of your overall element, as well as you can justify the content. That is basically if it will be middle or on the topmost part based on the height, and the align content will basically the, if what is how it will be aligned. It will be centered right side or on the left side. We'll look at it. So currently, let us say, so if I have applied like display of flex, right? I have added a class of flex container. Now in this container itself, I will say a display flex. Now all the display will become flex, and instead of flex direction, that is column. So it is column view. I will say row. Now it has become row, right? And basically there is row and column, and there are some more. So there is column reverse and as well as row reverse. So I have column reverse, so 3, 2, 1 is there. But if I say row reverse, then it will be 1, 2, 3. Sorry, so reverse, and here I have to change. Now it is 3, 2, 1 from row side. Right, and you can also change like where the text will align, like center. The text aligning is basically like 3 is the C in the center. So this is how you can change the size, like the position of element inside an element. So next we have to cover is flex item, right? So I have a flex container division 1, 2, 3. Then I can say that, yeah. Now I have something called as flex grow, where I can grow an element based on like screen size. So let us say if I have this size, I have changed. Now this is taking 1:1:8. right? So this is taking 10%, 10%, and the remaining 80% is when taken by the third element. But if I change it, like let us say if I make it 6, 2, and then I can say 5, 4. Okay, so now it is taking like 60 to 20 or 40, or let us say 6 is to 2 is to 4, like ratio of the elements. So you can see that because it is 6, it will be like biggest element. The 2 will be like smaller than 3 because 3 is like 2. So this is twice as big as this, right? So I hope you are getting this. Like you have to like play around with it. Like basically there are predefined values that if you are not like testing yourself, you will never learn it, right? So just come here, try yourself. You can play around with these properties and then learn it. Next up, we have CSS grid. So basically, CSS grid is like how we position our element in our website. If I say try yourself, so you can see that I have header, menu, main, right, and the footer, right? So, and then I have something called as grid template area where I have I'm hovering my mouse. So there is first row will only contain header, right? So, and first row is containing the header. And then the second row will have menu, and that is one block. Three blocks will be dedicated to the main, and then the 2 will be for the right. At the third row, I will have one menu, one block that is here, and then I will have rest as a footer. But I can change it. So let us say menu, and then I am also changing it to here. And then if I run it, then I can see that menu is not taking 2 blocks, right? Basically, it is taking 2 columns, right? So this is how you can also define your overall grid. Okay, again, I would recommend you because we have like time constraint. What I would recommend is just come here and then you can play around with this, how various designs are working, how various grid system is working, and then you will be much more comfortable with CSS, right? So CSS is basically like just know the concept, and then we can use Bootstrap to create websites like this. You will see that this website is being created and I have not even used the CSS file. I'm just using the Bootstrap classes that I'm already getting from the Bootstrap team, right? So this is basically all I wanted to cover. And one thing that I wanted to cover more was, yeah, so this one. See, if I grow my screen size, right? So this size is been growing. So now there are 4 columns, right? There is this row, but there are 4 columns. Okay. And if I change it, it has become to 2 columns. Then now it is 1 column only. So how this is possible? This is possible using media queries, where we are defining if the size of my display is particular pixel, then I want to have this number of column, or I want to show my content based on this various property that we have. So here I would also like to introduce you with the unit of percentage, right? So there are various units. There is pixel, there is rem, there is m, and there is percentage, as well as there is VHS. So pixel is basically the pixel, percentage is basically the percent of your screen, and then VH is basically vertical height. That is also responsive, works basically like percentage, but for the vertical. It has like different type behavior, but if you try it out, you will understand it. We basically use it for the height property that we have. And second is like M and rem. So they are basically used for the text. Whatever text we have, we would like to use M or rem property to make it responsive. Because I can say, let us say I'm using controller and then I'm zooming in. Now I'm on 120%. Now the text size is changing, right? So if you want to make sure that the text is changing based on the client display that they have, you can use responsive units like M or rem. So here what is going on is, what we have done is, so basically I have a div called row. So this is first row, this is second row, this is, and then this is the third row. And then I have first column, second column, third column, and then fourth column. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a row. In that row, so this entire row, so this particular image that we have, entire colossal, is actually in a one row, and it that row has a 4 columns. So column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, and also column number 4. Each column has multiple images. Their size may be different. We are not playing around with the size. We are just going with the default size. So what we are doing is, So I'm using @media and then I'm using max width 600. So just see where my mouse is, you can see that result size 841 by 550. So what this is like 841 pixel multiplied by 540 pixel, right? So if I change it, so now you can see that when it will be 600, right? So yeah, so you can see that now it is 600, right? So on 600, what I have seen is flex will take 100%. So each column is taking 100% width of a currently available, screen. So in the screen, whatever width is there, it is taking 100%. But when my width size is more than more than 800 pixels, then what I'm doing is yeah, so 801. So that will take 50%, or max width will be 50% and flex will be also 50%, right? So that is, I believe, yeah, it is there. So it is less than 800. Okay, so when it is less than 800, max will 800. So when I'm more than 800, 811, 801 it was, so it was taking 4 column, but now when I'm under 800, 7 yeah, so let us say maxed with it 800, right? So particularly 800, when we have 800 with, then it will take 50%. So 50% is taken by this element, 50% is taken by this element. But again, it will be rendered from top to bottom. So let us say currently I have this image at the top. So let us say when I'm more than 800, so this is like image, right? So there is a woman image, and then there is this Eiffel Tower, then there is some mountain, then there is again Eiffel Tower, and then there is this water, right? So if I just change it, you can see that there is this woman, and then there is this Eiffel Tower, then the mountain, and then Eiffel Tower, and then if you just go on, you can see there is again water. So image is being rendered from top to bottom. It is just how it will be looking. We can change it using media queries on different type of display. Now, using this fundamentals that we have something called as Bootstrap. And I have already told you how you can use Bootstrap. You can use CDM, right? Let me just load the Bootstrap for now. Okay, so let's click on Get Bootstrap. Okay, so now you can see there is layout, content, forms, component. You can see there are button, card, and various like carousel, close button, drop down. So what they have done is for everything, they have written the CSS and given you name of the classes, right? So now you can use these classes and apply it on your like web page, right? So we will first look at some of the common classes that we have. I have made the list. So first is container. Okay, so container is basically, you can see if I have an element and I'm applying container dot sm, then it will say like sm is basically extra small, so device which less than 576 pixel. MD will be like 100% on the medium scale devices. Okay, and then LG is basically large. So when the display is more than 992 pixel, it will take 100% width, right? So that particular element. If I have an Excel and the screen is basically like 1200 pixel is basically the desktop. When you have desktop, the laptop is basically the large and desktop is basically extra large, right? So on that time, I will take like my whatever element is there, which has class of container will take 100% width. For the XXL, basically extra large is basically, I can say what device it will be. I can say like 24 pixel TVs, right? So 24 inches TV. If you have something like that, or let us say you have big laptops like 16 pixel, what you can do is you can apply this container fluid. Then what it will do is, it doesn't matter what large size it is, it will always take 100% width, right? So this was basically the container. This is common, we have used it. So if I go here in the website that we have created, I have used container fluid. with the margin, right? So I will come to it. So I have used class container fluid. So what it did was, I got a complete div. So basically what I have done is, let me go ahead. So yeah. So just know the idea behind this design. So what it was what? So let us say I have a screen. Okay. So this screen will be, okay, so this screen will be my laptop screen, right? So you can see that I have written laptop here. So this is my laptop screen. Okay. So first thing what I have done is I have created a navbar. Okay. So this is my navigation bar, which is in red color. Now, navbar is a block level element, so it will take entire width that it has that is available to him. Like so, navbar will take entire width. Now, but what I want to do is I have created an empty div without any content, and then given it 100% like container fluid. That means whatever like size you have, you can take that size. Okay, so whatever type it has, whatever size is remaining, whatever width is there, you can take 100% of that. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a row inside this div. Right. So in this div, I want to create two more containers, two more division tags. So that will be basically like, let us say it is taking 8 columns, and the second one will basically take 4 columns. Okay, so what I will do is, let me just name it. So I will name it navbar, and here will be my main. Okay, so I also want one more thing, that is corrosion. That is also again block level element, so it will take entire width it has available. Now remember that my corrosion is in this particular column that I have represented with the orange color. So it will only take space that it can get in this orange color container only. Right, so because the parent is like this orange color container, so it will only take space that its parent is providing it, because it is a child element, right? Then next will be the like list of my food. What I can do is I can make another row. Okay, and then what I can show is in this row, what I want is I want to populate it with small cards, and then the cards will take whatever space they have, and if there is no space, they will go to next line. Okay, and same thing I am doing here. I am creating one H1 tag, one tag for the price, and then I am saying that I have this row, and then whatever element I am adding, what I am doing is this element, I want to populate this content with the element that I will be adding. So see, this is our overall layout of the website. I hope that you have understood how this layout is working. We have one container for navbar. It is block level element. It is taking entire width that is available. It is not in any container. The root parent of this navbar is actual document itself. So it is taking entire width of the document. Second, we have one more division, an empty division, which is taking entire div, like entire width. And then I have a row. In that row, I am specifying 2 columns. One column will take 8 columns and the rest will take 4 columns. Now, why it will take 8 and 4 columns? Because in Bootstrap, there are 12 number of columns. So what Bootstrap team has done, basically remember in the grid section, what we have done in the row 1, I am taking only saying header, right? And then in the row 2, I have main, and then I had 3 times like menu, and then 2 times header, right? So 2 times menu and 3 times header. On the row 3, I had 1 menu and then all the footer. But if I change the column name to from main to menu and from footer to menu, what happened? It was taking like 4 columns, right? Like 2 columns basically, and basically 4 parts of my thing. So basically in Bootstrap, I can do the same thing. In Bootstrap, there is specified number of columns, basically 12 columns in your entire screen. Right. So, and then into your entire container that you have, any container you have, you can divide it into 12 columns. Okay. After you have divided it, what you can do is you can basically split it. So I have split it into 8 column and 4 column. So this main content is 8, and then this sidebar is 4. So that is total 12 content. That is total like 12 column, right? So I have my like 2-column view. Second, I am saying that I want one more row where what I will do is I want a container for my carousel, and contain carousel itself is an element. I'm just using it. What I was able to do is carousel is taking entire width of a parent element, that is the row that I'm specifying. Second, I'm specifying another row below this carousel, and then I'm saying I have basically cards. They will take the content whatever they have available, and then they will go to next step. So now I hope you have learned the layout. So basically you can see that if you know how to create the layout, you can basically create a website. Because see, CSS is all about if you are able to search the attributes correctly. You have an attribute, you want to search it if you don't remember it. If you know how to create a layout, you can basically just remember that you can create it because you already have the concepts clear. So if you look at the code, then you will realize that we just do this. Okay, so let's learn like Bootstrap, whatever we have available, and then you can go to Bootstrap document and learn it more in depth later on. So first is our structure, that is doc type HTML. Then I'm specifying the language in the root element, that is HTML, that root element HTML, and then I'm saying that language I'm using is English. This is also important so that your browser know you are using English. Let us say you are using Russian, or let us say you are using European, then you will say EU, or let us say you will say RUIV for Russian, or if you are using some other language, you will specify that so that your browser will know. This will help your browser, in browser there is inbuilt functionality of translating the page. So if it is in EU and there is someone from a region of English, then it translator will activate and they will allow your browser to change. Next is we have head tag, where I'm specifying various metadata such as char set of UTF-8, so that like character set is UTF-8. The name like viewport, basically how my website will look. If you say the viewport and the initial scale of 1, that means on all browser the initial scale will be set to 1 before your contents will be visible. Again, you have to change this view scale to know how things are working. Second, I'm specifying the title, and then I'm specifying adding an icon. So we can see that the title is food order, that we have food orders, and then I'm specifying the icon. Okay. Then see the icon is there, that I have a hamburger icon. Next up, we are specifying the CDN of Bootstrap CSS. Remember, I said this JavaScript, or whenever you are applying JavaScript, that has to be at the end of the your overall code. So first we are specifying the minified version of CSS basically, and then we are closing the head tag. Then metadata is done. This is all we had to do. Now I'm going to the body, where I'm specifying the navbar section, where I'm saying that I have a navigation bar, and then when the navigation bar expands to the on the small screen, what navbar should not expand on the small should collapse, I would say, on the small screen. So to do that, I have this class. So let's see it in action. So if I say F12 and change the size, then you can see that my navbar has changed. Now I have a logo. And if I click on this menu, now I'm getting the link and then the button itself. Okay. So this is possible because I have, let us say, navbar expand SL. So let us say where it will only expand when the device width is more than small screen. That is basically, I believe 776 pixel. Back I'm applying a BG body, and when I'm applying nothing, that means it will apply the white color. And if I'm interested saying secondary, then what it will do is it will change the color of it is not fine. I believe the server is not running. Okay, so okay, I have to see why it is not working. Maybe there is some problem with the live server, so it is not working. But you can see that I have available to say BG body tertiary and the secondary. And also I forgot to show you that if you go on the extension, what you guys need to install is to get this list of available classes. You can search for HTML, CSS, IntelliSense. So if you install it, HTML, CSS, IntelliSense, okay, you can see this, it has like more than 15 million downloads. So it is really useful when you have something like a Bootstrap and a CDN where you are not actually downloading the actual CSS file, but you are using it through the CDN, then that will be really useful. You can get list of all the available classes that you have. And I'm also making it fixed top. So fixed top will say that I want to make sure that this is fixed. Basically what it will do is it will change the G index. So in CSS, if you apply the G index to the one, then it will be above every element. So there is layer one, there is layer two. So this layer is 0, 1, this layer is 0, this layer is 1, and this layer is -1, this layer, right? So I can specify the index of each layer and specify which will be on top. So when I'm scrolling, you can see that this is always visible because I have said that G index is 1, right? And I can also like make it sticky, top 0, so it will always be on top. Right, so you can do that. You can make a sticky navbar using fixed top, and then you can also apply a shadow. So you can see there is a shadow effect that is using the shadow class that we have. Then you can see I have container fluid applied in the nav section for my basically a class and the button class that I have. So basically, when I say this, then I have this a tag that is full order. You can see that I have an applying class of navbar brand. That is why it is slightly bigger. In the a tag, you saw that it is basically blue color by default and it has underlined it. But now we are not getting underline and blue color because I am applying a class of navbar brand, which is giving it this functionality. Second is like I'm not giving it any href for now. We will give it when we are looking at the Django. Second is we have the navbar toggler, which is basically this icon that we have, this hamburger menu that we have. I am getting it through this button, right? And basically this class is like applying some kind of SVG, and in the SVG I can specify the various sizes and then create a like an illustration like this icon. I don't have to like import an icon. Basically, this is also functionality of Bootstrap. You can look at it how it is working. Basically, you don't really understand how this is working. You just have to use PNG or SVG for your own one, right? So this entire code that we have is making it possible for me to get this button that I have. Second is I have navbar like collapse option. Now this collapse option is the collapse. I can say sorry. The class that whatever class is inside. So see, I have this div, right? And this is the particular div. I have a UL element, I have an A element, right? And when the entire navbar has been collapsed, right? Then what is happening is that profile and this entire section is under the collapse menu, right? So this is all available in the collapse. That is because I'm specifying a div with collapse and navbar collapse. If you use like both of this, I can say classes, then only it will work. So this entire part will be collapsed. In the UL list, I can say that I want to a navbar nav. So basically in the UL is basically unordered list. You can see that it has like dotted I can say default behavior, and it was coming. So let us say first element, then second element was like below the first element, right? But that is not here. We can see that they are like side by side. That is because we have the class of navbar nav, and let us say ME is basically margin start. Margin start, we are saying it as auto. So basically like the margin will be automatically fixed to get to have like proper spacing in between. Then I also have like margin bottom for the large display. I want it as 0 because the problem was that on the smaller and on like medium display, the margin was changing. On larger it is changing, so I just set it as 0. Second, we have navbar item on the each item. So you can see that currently I am on wedge right page and it is slightly darkened than this page. So this kind of functionality is coming from the navbar item and specifically from the active class that I have, right? Then I can create basically different link for this veg, non-veg, and then my card as well as on the profile. Now I have this A tag, but it looks like a button, right? That is because I have this button and then I have this button outlined in here, right? And on the navbar, if you want to get something on like at the end, what you have to do is you have to say deflex. Basically, it is using CSS flex to add the content at the end. right? If you know the flex box, you will be basically like, understanding how this is working. Now, this was basically in my neighbor. Now I will be coming to my actual content. Now I have container fluid that is on div that I did show you, like this green color box is my container. Okay, so I'm using container fluid so that it is taking entire width that my screen has, and then I can say margin top as 5. Why margin top? Because navbar is like on top of it, right? Navbar is on top of my web page. So I have to specify that I want a margin from top, and I want some particular margin so that my website is like, not overlapping. My container is not overlapping with my navbar, because my navbar is basically on a different layer. It is not on the same layer, so that if it is on the same layer, it can push the entire content to the next line, right? But if it is on a different layer, then I cannot push it. So let us say I have this phone and I have my hand, and if they are on like same different layer, then I cannot push. Like if I say have my hand and like hover over it, but if they are on the same, and if I push my hand, then the mobile will also move. Basically, that is the logic behind it. That is why we have margin top and we are applying 5. So margin top 5 will basically apply the most amount of margin. 4 is there, 2 is also there, and 1 is also there. Next, we have the row, and again, I am applying margin 5. And then we basically saw what the row was, right? So here I'm applying a row, and then now I will have like call MD9. So when the column is on a medium device or like larger than medium, I want it to take 9 columns. Okay. In the example, I said 8 and 4, but in actuality, I am taking 9 and 4. So basically, let's see. So it is taking like 9 column. And this is basically 3 column is reserved for the second column. So let's look at it. So I have this call MD9, and then you can see that I have this call MD3. And again, I am using DMD block to like have it on the left side. Okay. So next is on the column D, I am using a carousel, like I am giving it an ID, like Bootstrap is giving it ID. They have some predefined things how they work. And then I'm using a class as carousel, which is letting me have 3 images overlapped with each other, and I have a class of slide, which is giving this effect of sliding, right? So you can see that the image is like not just changing abruptly, like it is not changing directly. It has some effect, right? So this effect is coming from the slide class. Next, I have like a class of carousel inner, like inner carousel. And then I have this carousel item, like each carousel will have an item, image number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I can say it as an active, and then I can have one image, right? Then I can have another image in another carousel item, and then I can have another image in another carousel item, which is giving me functionality of having 3 images. Next up, we have something called as like basically for controlling previous and controlling next. Okay, this is visible here. So if I hover over it, you can see that like the arrow is there with white color. If I hover over it, you can see that next is there. So this functionality, like coming it on like on top of this image, as well as having some kind of margin from top bottom, as well as having some padding. This is coming from this various classes that it has. So again, Bootstrap is taking care of it. We don't have to care about it. So that was basically like all the carousel that we have. Now let's come to the card section. So in the card section, I am again using margin top on the today's special. So I have this thing, today's special. Again, I'm having some kind of margin. You can see that margin bottom and margin top is different because I'm applying a specific margin. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a row that we saw in this example, that we will create a row. And then I'm adding a card, right? So I have a div. In this div, I will have various like, let us say an image. Basically, it is a card. What it is doing is, not this one, yeah, this one. So see, there is a border around this card, right? That is coming from this card. And then we have an image, but image itself have some kind of border, right? So I'm saying that border 0. I don't want my image to have a border. I want to make sure that it is inheriting the border from the card itself. So next up, we have image thumbnail and the image card image top, which is basically provided by the Bootstrap itself. Image thumbnail is basically like having a thumbnail type of image. In the YouTube, you must have seen the thumbnail, right? So it is working like that. Again, I'm saying that my card should have a shadow. So each card is having like this kind of shadow effect so that it looks like it is on top of my layer, but it is actually on the same layer. Next, I am saying that I don't want any padding in my card, as well as I want one margin from all sides on my all the cards, so that they are not just closely with each other. There is some distance between each card. So this is basically how we did the card section. And now let's come to the basically like sidebar section. So in the sidebar, again, I have the H1 element, and then again, I have the H2 element where I can say that card item is 2. And this card item will change automatically when we have learned Bootstrap, like when we have learned JavaScript, and we have learned the backend part that we will be learning tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Then I have a total bill amount, and then I have a card with like image of a card, and currently the only the price. Okay, and if I want, I can also add a button. So let us say I have this button, right? So I can say like div, and then I can say checkout. I can apply a class of BTN for it to have a button like thing. So let us, yeah. So now if I just the live server is not working, I have to reload by myself. Okay, you can see it says like checkout, right? Now I can say BTN primary for a primary color. In Bootstrap, there are 9 basic color that you can learn, and those color have like particular name. So primary will be basically like so it is not working because I don't have space in between. Yeah, so primary is blue color, and there is also danger for red color, right? I can again add margin bottom of 3 to have some margin between button and the actual list. Right, and then I have this card. Again, I am using the basically same, and I'm saying that I want to take width of 18 rem. Right, so I have this card. They are 18 rem. They are not like taking entire space. That is because I want to make sure that they all fit the entire size. And also because if I click on F12, and now they are here. So yeah. Yeah, so that they are side by side when they are on the medium display. And again, when they are like on a smaller display, I want to make sure that they are taking only one space. Okay. We can also change this thing when we are using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We can make like, we have some of the spaces that are alien. This kind of things can be easily solved if we are using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It is recommended to use that, but Bootstrap is also good. Lot of websites and a lot of companies are using Bootstrap for their basic structure, and then they're using CSS to change those structure. Okay, so you can also do that. Basically, I have like went over some of the things that. So this is like enough for today. I think it is already 4 p.m. But I think okay. So I have not added. I can say footer. So I can also add it. I can say div, and then I can say class of bg, then I can say black color, and then I can say terms of service. Now I will have a footer of black color, and I can say that I want padding to be 5 from all sides. So now I have some padding. Okay, now we have a complete website of navbar, sidebar, main content, columns, corrosion. Okay, and then I also have a footer. Okay. I can also populate it when I have time. So I believe this is enough for today. We have already, I think, covered mostly everything that we have for today. Next up, what I want is just go on what we have done today. So basically, we have learned classes, IDs, semantic tags. We went over how to link a CSS class. We also saw the specificity important, and then the units, and then height and width, box model. We saw fonts. We saw how to align item. We saw images, background images, colors, margin, padding, border, outlines, as well as we saw the display, as well as the position of, and now we also saw some example on Flexbox and grid, but you can also practice on your own to make sure that you are getting those concepts. And then we also saw what is G-index, what are the layers in CSS, and then we also saw some of the basic classes that come with the Bootstrap, and how we can use Bootstrap to create a website like this, which has like all the functionality of a modern website. Okay, So, sir, I believe this is enough for today. Let me change the setting so that you can learn. Yeah, I have changed the settings. See if you can.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. So could you please share one more time that PDF file from where our students can get this video lectures recording na?
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so video lecture recording, right? So that
Yeah.
Trello link was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me share the Trello link, and I have also shared the Trello link, shared the yesterday's video in the Trello link. They can get it from there also.
Yeah. So okay.
I have shared in the chat, guys. Please just go on the board and confirm that if you are able to access it. And you can see that there is also tomorrow's video lecture I have posted there with the title. Let me check of Day 2 Introduction to HTML and CSS. You guys can see that. And also I will upload a video of today, and as well as the markdown file that I have where I'm creating the notes. I will also share it with you. Okay, so that you guys can learn what we have studied and also practice them, and so that you guys can improve your overall HTML and CSS knowledge. Now, we are actually done with the scripting part. Tomorrow we will look at the overall like programming part, because see, in the programming, as sir said that you have only studied till I believe 4th sem, so you all are I think new to the programming, but you must have learned some kind of programming. So tomorrow I will be going over the basics of JavaScript, but I will also be going over the basics of Python as well as like PHP, so that when we are working backend website on the Django and PHP, you guys will have better idea of how those languages work, and you will also realize tomorrow that you only need to know the actual, like, the I would say concept behind each language. They are actually, the syntax is different, the way we write the language is different, but the how the meaning is actually same. Okay, so we will see that tomorrow. So thank you for today. So sir, if you may, then I will end the session.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir.